Good morning, friends. Well, we're in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 7 through 11 today, and I know that you know what this section is all about because you've spent the last few days here. This whole section is concerned with the treatment of Christians who are unwilling to work. Now, Paul treats this as a serious matter, doesn't he? Apparently, there were some Christians in the church in Thessalonica who were living in idleness, who were refusing to work, and perhaps they were a burden on the other Christians who were in the church there. Paul had instructed them when he was with them that Christians ought to be hard workers. And apparently he's heard, maybe from Timothy, that there's still a problem in the church there. And so he writes about it and he treats it seriously. And what do you think about this? I'm wondering, why is it so important to Paul that Christians are known as hard workers? Why is that so important? We can only speculate because Paul doesn't give us his rationale for this instruction in this particular passage. Is he concerned with what unbelievers will think about the gospel of Jesus and about the church of Jesus Christ if they brand Christians as lazy people? Or is he concerned about the spiritual well-being of those lazy Christians? You know, there's value in hard work. It can do something to a person's psyche to live in idleness and to not have important work to do. Or is Paul concerned that lazy Christians might become too big of a burden on the church, other Christians who may feel obligated to support them? Well, I don't know for sure. We're just speculating. But I do know when I read these verses, he certainly sees this as a serious and important matter. Here's what Paul writes in verse 6. It's a prohibition. He says, I don't want you to have any intimate association or fellowship with lazy Christians. And then in verses 7 through 9, he uses himself as an example. He says, when we were with you, we worked night and day. We worked hard. We had the right to request financial support from you for our ministry, but we were willing to waive that right. Why, Paul? Because we wanted to give you an example to imitate. How so? We wanted you to know the value of hard work. We wanted you to work hard for your living. And we hoped that when you saw us doing that, you would be inclined to do that as well. And then look at verse 10. He just comes out and says, those who are not willing to work, they should not be supported by others. Well, as I read these verses, you probably did what I did. You're looking for principles that you can apply to your own life. Because I'm not really aware that this particular situation is relevant to my situation in the church where I worship. How about you? I don't know a lot of lazy Christians, frankly. So I'm looking for principles in this passage that I can apply to my life. Principle number 1 surely is that there is value in hard work. Principle number 2 must surely be that there is no place for lazy, idle Christians. You notice what Paul says in this passage. He says these idle Christians have become busybodies. Because they have nothing to do, they stick their nose into the business of others where it doesn't belong. And that spells trouble for the church, trouble for that community of faith. Maybe there's some other principles here that you found in your reading which can apply to your own life. I know that you probably found some application. And that's the whole point, by the way. I want to stress this. We don't read Scripture just as an academic exercise. We don't study it as if we're just studying a book of science or a book of facts. No, we're looking for application. So when we read Scripture, we want to apply Scripture. We want to look for principles that we can apply to our own lives. I hope that you've done that. Well, we're just about to reach the end of our study of 2 Thessalonians. It's been a great study, and I appreciate your company. And I pray God will bless you today and as you continue to live for Jesus. God bless.